Hello, Rena.
Hey there, Dr. Bach.
Welcome, everyone, to a free association conversation between Rena K and myself, Dr. Bach Ho. We're both organic intelligence coaches. We help people reduce suffering and increase capacity to handle more in life with ease using the protocols of organic intelligence. You can reach out to Rena to learn more about her OI-informed courses on healing from shame and for individual sessions. And you can reach out to me for individual session work. Uh, Details about us will be in the description. In these live stream free association conversations, Rena and I try to aim both at people who are completely new to organic intelligence and people who already know its basics. We try to find the balance. Today, our topic is orientation pleasurable? Is orientation pleasurable? I want to open actually raw and vulnerable right now.
Hmm.
Right now, I am not in pleasure, but I'm oriented, I think. So that's an interesting. So our topic is orientation pleasurable? Uh, um, in last week, Rena and I got started on going through 6 features of orientation. We got through, I believe, 4, and the plan today is to finish off the 2 and then transition into the question, is orientation pleasurable? And right now, just to report, Um, in at this very moment, the crypto market is crashing and I'm down a lot of money and I am quite distracted. It's very unpleasurable. There's some unpleasant sensations in my belly, in my torso. For those of you who are listening, if you are invest in crypto, you know what happened on October 10th. Today is like a repeat, horrifying. So I am not in pleasure, Rena. I am not in pleasure. Yet I feel, I mean, my eyes can roam around and the sky and the trees, I feel connected to. So we can get to back to the PowerPoint slide in a moment, but there's my opening. Any instinctive,
Oh,
spontaneous thoughts?
sorry, bummer. You can understand watching your portfolio shrink is not a good feeling, of course. And yeah, there's a difference, right? Between there's the internal sensation of the stomach feels kind of funny or the torso feels funny, and then you can bring your attention out, and then your attention will go back in on the weird feeling, and then it comes back out, and probably by the end of this conversation, you won't have thought very much about what's happened in the crypto market world because we're having this conversation, right?
Oh
And you'll
yeah,
be
let's
oriented to this, right?
okay.
And so, that's what happens.
Fingers crossed. Thank you for the pep talk. I'm gonna can I share the slide and then we'll resume
Sure.
from where we were. Okay, let me actually this is good enough. So these are 6 features of orientation, and we got through significant, unfocused, automatic, and effortless. Significant means the environment is significant to your attention. Unfocused means you're not hyper fixated on any aspect of the environment, like where are my car keys, or I'm staring at the person I love or hate and I can't get my eyes away. Instead, your eyes can and ears can move around to different aspects of the environment. Automatic refers to whatever uh, seeing, hearing, etc., is happening automatically without your effort. And then I jumped to number 5 because it's more logically connected to automatic. The acronym SWAVN is there for felicity. It sounds nice, SWAVN, but in terms of logical order, it was a weird acronym. So from automatic, I went to effortless. Effortless refers to the degree you are using volition to orient. So, for example, actually, right now, I'm a little preoccupied from bleeding monetarily from the crypto market. So it might take some effort for me to let my eyes connect to the sky and to the trees, but not that much effort. So the less effortful or the more effortless it is, the more oriented I am. So automatic is whatever's happening automatically, and then like if there's sound that I can't prevent myself from hearing, I hear it automatically. That's automatic. And then if I can pay more attention to the sound, volitionally, and it's pretty easy. That's effortless. And that's where we kind of left off. And then we were going to get into vacation and then neutral. I was going to jump in unless Rena, you wanted to say something before I
Yeah, no, go for it.
go
Yeah.
for it. So I'm going to actually go for neutral first. And vacation is more of, in my mind, vacation is kind of the dessert piece. But again, the acronym order is for the sake of the nice sounding word suaven. So neutral means, excuse me. See, it's COVID plus market losses. Neutral means that your overall experience when you're oriented is neutral. It's not intensely pleasant, nor is it intensely unpleasant. So I'm looking around, um, I'm I'm seeing the sky, I'm seeing the trees. Maybe there's significance. So it may be that I like looking at certain trees, there's some pleasure. Or when I look at a, oh, there's a I don't have much creativity. There's a trash can, there's a trash bin, and when I look at it, it's a little unpleasant. I feel a little bit unpleasant when I look at the trash can. I feel a little pleasant when I look at the tree. That's significance. But overall, as kind of a gloss overall on the experience, it's a more neutral experience as opposed to heightened pleasure or heightened displeasure. So neutral. And then the final feature, which is number 4, vacation refers to overall and in general, orientation will feel like a vacation from internal intensity. So right now I'm recovering from COVID. I have a cough, and I'm I'm worried about how much more money I will lose in the crypto market. I'm a little bit distracted, and actually in the moment, um, I'm actually looking at you, Rena, and I find I can look at you, and you are significant to my attention, and my eyes are relaxed. And it's when I look at you, or when I look at the wall behind my monitor, there's a kind of relief. There's somewhat of a vacation from the internal intensity. So, in sum, the 6 features of orientation: S, the environment is available or significant to your attention. U, your attention is not hyper fixated. It can be relaxed and unfocused. A, there's some automatic connection happening. V, it feels like a vacation from internal intensity. E, to the degree I am choosing to orient, it's pretty effortless. And N, overall, the experience is neutral, not super pleasant or unpleasant. And that's Suaven, you know.
Hmm. I like I'm curious about looking at neutral and the significance of neutral, and you're kind of comparing it to high intensity, right? Like high intensity unpleasantness or high intensity pleasantness. I might modify that a little bit if I were to talk about it, because in some ways I do think of neutral as, I mean, there can be you're orienting, you're in the park and you see a trash can overflowing and you're like, like but you don't have that much of a feeling one way or the other, right? But if you were to look at it and spend some time, yeah, it might be unpleasant, but your initial reaction is like, right? And so there, to me, like neutral has to at least have this sense of it's just not affecting you one way or the other. To the direction I would lean still towards it would have some kind of pleasantness. And I guess this gets into our topic of is
Nice, yeah.
orientation pleasant or pleasurable, that um, in the process, so there's two things, right? There's the practice of orientation, which in and of itself is not necessarily automatic, but we're wanting it to go in the direction. Like as we're practicing so that in time, orientation is much more automatic. And so for many people in the beginning, it's not automatic. right? Like I will have people, clients and group participants like stack orientation practice with something else they already do. So they drink tea 4 or 5 times a day. Okay, when you sit down to drink your tea, that's when you're going to take 15 to 30 seconds to orient.
Mm.
Um, I'll have them connect it to something because it's not automatic at first. And one of the best ways to get an unautomatic habit more automatic is to stack it with something else that you're already doing. Other people, they'll set an alarm on their phone. They'll, every time they are at a stoplight while driving, that's when they orient. They'll do something to make a choice where it's not an automatic thing, and so there is a certain level, like you said, effortedness in the choice of doing it. But
Yep.
that's going to be one moving towards making it so that the system will do it automatically. And the more there's a response in the biology that feels like, oh, this was nice. In other words, it was pleasant to do. The more it is nice, the more likely your system's going to do it more and more and more. Right? Like if there
Yeah.
isn't at least some kind of like you said, this vacation, the vacation that could be just relief. Okay, so there's a relief from the intensity that's internal. So your example of, oh, if I wasn't having this conversation with Rena right now, then I would be thinking about my losses and I'd be drawn there. But the fact that we're having this conversation, that's pulling my attention out, and that feels like some relief, right? Relief to me is different than pleasurable, right?
Mm.
And
Okay.
so to me, there's something about like I would say relief is better than high intensity, unpleasant intensity. So I'm for that. But I do tend to see orientation as having a quality of at least neutral to pleasant. And I would like it to be so that there's, and it can be low level pleasant. It doesn't, it's not, like I said, it's not high intensity pleasant. If I see the tree and the color of the leaves is really bright red and the sun's shining on it, and it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice. Right? I like that. Like we want something of that quality. So not only is it a vacation from internal intensity, it has some kind of pleasantness to it, and that's not part of your suave. So I'm kind of curious about it. It's
Oh,
just
can I?
yeah.
Thank you. Could you repeat your qualification or criticism? It's fine if it's a criticism. I'm done with being criticized. But could you repeat the point you wanted to make about neutral vis-a-vis significant? I have the slide back up for the viewers if you're interested. Can you
Yeah,
just repeat the point? Yeah, yeah,
so well, it's interesting, right? Like, so if it's significant, it's because it's capturing one's attention.
yeah.
And to me, that's neither pleasant nor unpleasant. It's capturing attention. So there's somehow that the attention has to be drawn there. You want neutral or at least neutral. And I would agree with that. I'm just kind of adding that I want it to be like if I were to it'd be like neutral plus, like a plus sign
Oh,
after
yeah.
neutral. So that's neutral and anything neutral to plus. And then, but I do understand your comment about I don't want super high intensity pleasant because many of us, we don't have the capacity to manage that either. So
Okay, so I think I understand. You're saying there's a hmm, okay, okay. Thank you, Rena. I'm gonna free associate. I think I may be raising the level of complexity significantly, but I feel like it's important, so I'm going to. Um, okay, looking at number one and number six, significant and neutral. When I said significant, I meant the environment is significant to you. So when you look around, the tree is significant. Oh, that's kind of cool. That rug is kind of cool. I don't like that trash can. Oh, there's a cute dog. Oh my God, it's a coyote. Oh my God, it's a coyote. Am I in danger? So the environment is significant to you. At the same time, I say in six, it's neutral, meaning overall, it's a neutral experience. Okay, so first, I think there may be a contradiction in my features, or at least an apparent contradiction, or at least some kind of puzzle or tension that's worth thinking about. And I knew that when I put the six features down there. that there might be some kind of question about how is significant compatible with neutral. Next thing I want to say is when I identified these features, excuse me, I have to take a sip of water. I, sorry. When I identified these features, I was trying to identify features that Steve Hoskinson, the founder of organic intelligence, has attributed to orientation without worrying in my mind about trying to make them consistent or what I think is good or bad or true or false. I was just trying to portray orientation as understood in organic intelligence technically as precisely as possible. And Steve sometimes defines orient the canonical standard most frequent official definition of orientation is connection to the environment through the senses. Another formulation he often refers to is neutral awareness of the environment. That's a tree, that's a desk, that's a wall. I see the river, I hear the lawnmower, I hear the dog. Neutral awareness of the environment. So because that's like the second most canonical, I think, I put neutral. He does make explicit it's neutral awareness of the environment. At the same time, it's explicit in organic intelligence that the environment has to be significant. So I include those features in there. I myself have questions about all of these features and how they relate and are they consistent, how do they cohere? And on top of that, there's this distinction in organic intelligence between what's true orientation or actual orientation and what's not really technically orientation, but it's practice and effort at getting to true orientation. I have that distinction in mind, and it's in my mind that when I have these 6 features here, I wasn't exactly clear in my mind fully on whether, I'm so sorry to you, Rena, and everyone, if I'm getting too complex. I wasn't fully clear on whether in these 6 features, I was trying to nail down actual orientation or have some leeway for the in progress orientation. So number 5, the feature of effortless would refer to how much effort I'm putting in, but in technical orientation, it would just be fully effortless, I believe. So when you, Rena, were talking about, well, at first it's not automatic, and then it becomes automatic when people practice. It may be more technically correct to say, at first, there was no orientation, but we got to orientation when we got to automaticity. And I'm realizing that I may be getting technical in a way that's not interesting or valuable to people who want to live their lives and get DIY value. So I'm sorry, I'm just taking this opportunity to just lay down a lot of thoughts I've had. And in general, I'm doing a lot of writing on orientation and pleasure and the relation. And sorry if it was too much for you, but for anyone,
Yeah.
but I'm just laying down a lot of thoughts I had in response to what you just said. So,
Right.
okay.
Well,
Okay.
so and I've, I've got some other thoughts too. In some ways, like for me, this is a really nice acronym for people to be able to consider for this practice of orientation.
Yeah.
And so if we think of orientation as a practice, as opposed to being in an oriented state, right? So we sometimes use that distinction. Or in an oriented state is simply I'm connected to the environment, and whatever is real in the environment, I'm taking appropriate responses and appropriate spontaneous impulsive action that's appropriate to the environment. And so, if I happen to be, find myself with my car broken down in a part of the neighborhood that's not awesome, where there's a higher level rate of crime in that neighborhood for whatever reason, that I want part of my orientation will be noticing certain elements that would suggest that, okay, I should probably take some kind of action that is towards my safety. Um, that is going to be an oriented response, even if it doesn't feel even neutral, right? Like so to me there's I'm now expanding or
I,
creating a distinction between orientation as a practice and wanting that to be at least neutral to a little bit pleasant. So what I said, neutral plus, which is different from just being in an oriented state, which is in a somewhat more neutral way, simply responding to the environment appropriately based on what information is coming in your
Okay.
senses.
May I take the,
Yes.
okay, thank you. So the first part of what you said about Suaven being a helpful, I think something to the extent of Suaven being helpful for people to use, you helped me hone in on one of my main purposes in the acronym. Let me just, I'm going to show it again. One of my main purposes was for DIY value. So I know I went on for a bit about a lot of hairy technical stuff, but I was trying to think what would help people. So what would help people, may help some people, is these 6 features. Look for them. Is the environment significant? Is my attention focused? Is there automatic orientation happening? Does it feel like a vacation? How effortless is it? Is it a neutral experience overall? And so I think with the neutral and the vacation and the significant, you get neutral plus. I think we're in, but so um technical questions about the exact nature of orientation, putting that aside for a moment, these 6 features are intended as a useful guide if you find it useful for trying to practice. So look for these 6 features as you connect to the environment. And then today's okay, so that's one point I wanted to make. And then Rena, you also said you're distinguishing between orientation as a state you're in and an oriented response. And I actually have Steve does refer to orientation sometimes as including an oriented response. And I actually have a lot of disagreement with that. But it is in organic intelligence. I mean, Steve is the founder of organic intelligence. So whatever he says organic intelligence is, that's what organic intelligence is. I'm saying I disagree with that part, which I may want to talk to you about maybe next week or maybe soon, because I think that, so, sorry. In organic intelligence, orientation is defined as connection to the environment through the senses. Steve, the founder of organic intelligence, also uses orientation sometimes to refer to having an oriented response or an appropriate response, which is an understanding that many organic intelligence people follow. And I have a lot of issue with that understanding, which I hope to talk to you about soon, maybe next. Okay, all right, all right. Which we could talk about now, but our main topic is supposed to be, is orientation pleasurable? So can I pivot to that?
Oh, there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the topic is orientation pleasurable? And one thought I had about this topic is, who cares? Why is it important? The point is, there's orientation and there's pleasure. Go for it. So you don't need to. If you ask, is orientation pleasurable? It may be the kind of like you're getting really into technical stuff that may not serve you too much if you're just doing DIY practice. Like go out there, go out into nature, you're orienting to nature, you're enjoying nature. Okay, A plus. Is it neutral? Is the orientation separate from pleasure? I mean, that gets into just live your life, enjoy your life, try to enjoy your life, try to orient. But now that we have this topic, is orientation pleasurable? One reason I wanted to talk about the topic was that I had technical, accurate organic intelligence in mind. And I wanted to address at least that. So sometimes in my mind, I'm talking to people who are new to organic intelligence and just want self-help stuff. And sometimes I'm thinking of the theory itself and getting it correct, and thinking about other organic intelligence coaches and Steve and the OI senior people and talking to them. So it's a mix. I'm sorry. So one thing I will say is this: in organic intelligence, Steve, the founder, so whatever the founder says, that's authoritative. Not as far as truth, but as far as what is organic intelligence. He does say very clearly and explicitly, often, orientation is distinct from the pleasure, or sometimes he'll use the word blue. And I have a whole thing on why I don't use the word blue, and but orientation is distinct from pleasure, even though I think he would say orientation can be pleasant, but at many times he says it's distinct. And so here's some examples. I'm just gonna throw out there. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm being so verbose today. I apologize to the viewer, but one example, this person says, I was feeling so overwhelmed with emotion, I had to orient. I had to go outside and look at birds. And then Steve is instructing, that's not orientation, that's pleasure. Because you were so distressed, that indicates that it wasn't effortless, easy. It was like you need to go for a pleasure. That's not orientation. That's one example I have in mind. Another example I have in mind is when he, for example, when he talks about tactile orientation through touch, he's very explicit, for example, that if you're feeling your pet, let's say you're feeling your pet's fur, the orientation would be the feeling of the fur. The sensations in your fingers would not be the orientation, that would be sensation. And I remember thinking, oh man, that sounds so nuanced and technical, and is that right? But my main point is that he at times he's very like explicit and emphatic that orientation is distinct from something else, and that something else he calls blue sometimes, which is the pleasure, and then at times it's distinct from the sensation in your body when you're doing tactile orientation. Okay,
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
I'm
that's very
I feel
specific to
I'm
tactile
I feel
because
like
of the
I'm raising
nature
a
of
lot of
it.
yeah. I also have questions about at the same time in the examples of orientation that he gives, it seems inseparable from pleasure. Like, look, get a piece of fruit that you enjoy and let's eat it together. Everyone on Zoom, get your fruit or something, and then let's all do some uh, gustatory uh, taste orientation. Or now everyone get a piece of pull up a piece of music that you like and let's do some auditory orientation. So in those cases, it seems completely inseparable from pleasure. Or would he say, well, the orientation is just the hearing of the music, the neutral hearing of the music, and then the pleasure from the music you is a separate thing. Okay, would he say that is one question. And another question is how practically what are the practical implications of this distinction? We're running out of time, and I feel like I'm just raising a lot of different things and not. I feel like I'm not as ordered as I normally am, so I apologize if that's coming across. Yeah, yeah.
So can I
Yes,
share
please take over.
just a
Take
little
over.
bit? Um so getting to the practical
Yeah,
piece that I think, as I understand it, there is a definite distinction between like the examples you gave. Okay, bring your favorite piece of food and then we're going to eat it together and orient to that. To me, that I also would not call that orientation. I would call that an exercise in I don't know, paying attention and if seeing if you like it. If you know, presumably if you brought your favorite food, then you're gonna like it. And so yes, I would move in towards pleasure. That to me, this idea between like, and you brought this up with, oh, I had all this distressful feelings, therefore now I'm gonna go do something to try to manage my distress. And that doing something, I'm gonna do the doing is some kind of connecting to the external environment that I too would say with Steve, no, that's not actually an orientation per se. Because it doesn't, because it has that directed, I'm choosing what I'm going to pay attention to. That the orientation is much more of an open state of allowing things to come into your sensory field. So if I happen to be eating, well, then tastes are coming into my sensory field. But if I'm not eating anything, then I'm not going to be tasting anything, and I won't be oriented through taste. And to set up an experiment, and frankly, I don't do this when I'm teaching orientation. I don't do anything like bring your favorite music, and then we'll listen because that encourages people to think about it as like, okay, now I'm going to, every time I am brushing my teeth, I'm going to look at the trees that are outside my window, right? And so I'm going to choose what I'm going to look at. Orientation is not a looking or a choosing of what music to listen to. I would agree that that's going to be probably more along the pleasure side, and you know it's pleasurable, so you do it. Orientation would be a complete letting go. I'm brushing my teeth and I'm just letting different sensory information come in, and I become aware of that. Like that's the effortless, automatic, unfocused quality that
Yeah.
I would say is orientation. And I appreciate the unfocused part of that because I think that's what you're kind of getting at. It's different than looking. It's different than um, choosing to do something to make connection with the environment.
Yeah. We're on our time. I really appreciate what you just said. I appreciate this whole conversation, and I would like to think more. I don't have any summative comments for the listener besides orientation and pleasure, and don't get too worried about my technical, and when I get confusing, just ignore me because I'm not trying to, it's just I'm trying to think through it precisely. But as far as your life, just orientation and pleasure. And I would like to think with you, Rena, about this, and maybe for later weeks also. I think there's a lot more here that I would want to go through. So those are my last words. Anything from you, Rena, before we call it for today?
Well, my last words would be along those lines of to be as effortless as possible in the process, because I know a lot of people start efforting their orientation and try to make it happen and try to create a certain state in themselves by doing something.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the antithesis of what organic intelligence is trying to teach. Organic intelligence is trying to help us move towards that letting go process. Not always what you want to do in the beginning. In the
Yes.
beginning,
Yes.
we might want to put some guardrails around the orientation process. Otherwise, we'll go down the negative train. But we're attempting to get closer and closer to the letting go process for it to be orientation. And so, as much as people are able to do that, that's going to be, I think, helpful.
Thank you. Yeah. So take it easy and try to relax around the whole orientation pleasure process.
In
Okay.
spite of us.
In spite